You've got to be kidding me, Mark said, his eyes glued to the dusty shelf in his grandpa's garage. Why would anyone throw this out? It's just old junk, Mark. His sister, Rachel, replied with a yawn, flicking her hair over her shoulder. Nobody plays those games anymore. But it's the original Super Mario Brothers, Ratch. This is like finding a piece of gaming history. He gently picked up the game cartridge and blew the dust off. Well, if it's history, it belongs in a museum, she teased, poking his side. Come on, let's go. We've got more of the attic to clear out. Ignoring Rachel's jab, Mark continued to sift through the pile of forgotten VHS tapes. Each one was a faded memory of a time before streaming services, a time when families huddled around the TV to watch their favorite shows. His hand stopped on one tape with a sticky label that read, "The Counsel of Marios." Intrigued, he tucked it under his arm and decided to take it along. Later that night, after their parents had gone to bed, Mark plugged in the ancient VHS player that had been collecting dust in the corner of their living room. Rachel rolled her eyes but couldn't resist the allure of nostalgia. They both sat down, ready to see what the tape had to offer. The screen flickered to life, revealing a static-filled image of a table surrounded by a peculiar group of men. Each one looked eerily similar, all with the same red hat, blue overalls, and mustache. "What the heck is this?" Rachel whispered, leaning closer. "I don't know," Mark murmured, his voice filled with excitement. "But it looks like Mario's. From all the different games." The camera zoomed in, and the static cleared, revealing the men sitting around the table. They looked serious, their eyes focused on something off-screen. One of them spoke up, breaking the tense silence. "Guys, we've got to do something about Bowser. He's kidnapped Peach again, and this time it's personal." The other Marios nodded solemnly. Rachel's eyes grew wide. "This isn't just some random fanfic," she breathed. "This is real." Mark hit play, and the adventure of The Counsel of Marios began to unfold before them. The tension grew palpable as the stakes grew higher than they could have ever imagined for a bunch of plumbers in a fantasy kingdom. The Marios around the table had sinister expressions, their eyes a deep, unnerving black. "We can't let Bowser win this time," another one spoke, his voice cold and determined. "We have to save her, even if it means going through hell itself." The screen shifted to show Bowser, not in his usual castle, but in a hidden sanctuary, surrounded by the kidnapped princesses of the Mushroom Kingdom. His eyes were a gentle blue, and his demeanor was anything but monstrous. He was speaking to a tearful Peach, holding her hand gently. "You're safe here, my dear. Far from the clutches of those monsters." The tape cut to the Marios charging into the sanctuary, their expressions twisted with malice. Rachel gripped the armrest of the couch, her heart racing as she watched the scene unfold. The Marios didn't look like the heroes from the games, they looked like the villains. The battle was swift and brutal. Bowser, despite his size and power, was no match for the combined might of the Mario doppelgangers. He roared in defiance, but it was clear he was outnumbered. The Marios moved with a precision that seemed almost inhuman, striking without mercy. Peach watched in horror as the man she had been led to believe was her captor fought to protect her from her own rescuers. The sound of bones cracking and fireballs flying filled the room as the tape played on. Rachel's eyes were glued to the screen, unable to believe what she was seeing. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself. "Bowser can't be the good guy." But the evidence was there, playing out before her in full, grisly detail. Bowser fought valiantly, his fiery breath clashing with the icy blasts of the black-eyed Marios. Each blow he took was met with a grunt of pain, but he never stopped trying to shield Peach from harm. The fight ended with a sickening thud as Bowser collapsed to the ground, defeated. The Marios surrounded him, their black eyes gleaming with triumph. Rachel felt a knot form in her stomach as they raised their hands in unison, ready to deliver the final blow. Suddenly, the scene changed again. The camera panned out, revealing that the sanctuary was a prison for the real villains of the Mushroom Kingdom, and Bowser had been their unwilling jailer. The Marios had been manipulated by Peach, who was revealed to be the mastermind behind the chaos. You're too late. Peach cackled, her voice echoing through the speakers. You've played right into my hands. Rachel's eyes darted to Mark, who looked just as shocked as she felt. They were witnessing a twist in the Mario universe they never could have predicted. The tape kept rolling, and the two siblings sat in silence, their minds racing with the implications of what they had just seen. The line between good and evil was blurred, and their childhood heroes had turned into the very monsters they were sworn to destroy. The Counsel of Marios had become a tale of deception and betrayal, leaving them both eager to uncover the rest of the story. As the credits began to roll, a sudden burst of static interrupted the screen. Rachel leaned forward, expecting the tape to end in the typical fashion, but instead, the image cut to a live-action scene that had them both bursting into laughter. There, in the midst of the chaos, was a man dressed as Toad, holding a camcorder, panting heavily. "Cut!" he yelled, and the scene behind him dissolved into a group of friends in makeshift costumes, all laughing and high-fiving each other. The camera zoomed in on the Toad, who removed his costume head to reveal their grandpa's face, beaming with pride. "And that, kids," he said, winking at the camera, "is how you make a blockbuster with a shoestring budget." The scene ended with a freeze frame of Grandpa Thumbs Up, surrounded by his friends in various stages of costume removal, all grinning like Cheshire cats. Mark and Rachel couldn't help but laugh, the tension of the dark twist dissipating like the fog from a popped balloon. "Grandpa?" Rachel managed to gasp between giggles. "This was you guys?" Mark's cheeks were flushed, tears of laughter in his eyes. It was so absurd, so unexpected, that they couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and amusement. The revelation that the entire tape was a homemade production by their grandpa and his friends was both bizarre and endearing. They watched the outtakes that followed, showing the Marios slipping on banana peels, tripping over cardboard sets, and ad-libbing hilarious one-liners. The seriousness of the storyline was replaced with the genuine joy and camaraderie of a group of friends who had clearly put their hearts into creating something ridiculous and wonderful. The siblings sat back, wiping their eyes, feeling a warmth spread through their chests. They had stumbled upon a piece of family history, a shared secret that only they knew. Rachel looked at Mark, her smile genuine. "Well, that was definitely not what I was expecting." "Me neither," Mark said, still chuckling. "But you know what? It's kind of awesome. Our grandpa is a legend." Rachel nodded in agreement. They decided to keep the tape a secret, a treasure to share with their friends and reminisce about when they were older. The Counsel of Marios had started as a chilling revelation but ended as a cherished piece of family nostalgia. And as they turned off the VHS player and placed the tape back into its case, they couldn't help but wonder what other crazy adventures their grandpa had captured on tape. The attic had just become a whole lot more interesting.